Hello everyone, this is Todd Blankenship with RocketStock.com, and in this video I'm going to show you how to use our new pack Mojave. Mojave is a pack of 100 dust elements that you can use for compositing, motion graphics, and anywhere that you need to add dust to your videos. These elements were optically captured in a studio and are provided in 4K resolution. These elements are also all shot at higher frame rates to give you the most options in post-production for whether you want your dust to be in slow motion or at a regular speed. These elements were created with Premiere, Final Cut, and After Effects in mind. However, they should work in any non-linear video editing software. Within the pack, there are multiple different styles of dust elements, so I suggest looking through them before you get started. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can use these elements in all three programs. Let's get started with Premiere. So here we are now in Premiere, and what I have here is this shot of this cowboy riding on a horse, and the horse is kicking up some dust, but let's say we want to add kind of a dusty reveal and maybe just a little bit more dust to just kind of make this look a little bit more interesting and a little bit more, I guess, dusty. One thing to note is if you're going to do some stuff with these dust elements, I highly recommend using something like After Effects or any sort of software that has tracking capabilities. It's a lot more difficult to do compositing in something like Premiere or Final Cut because you cannot do motion tracking for elements specifically. You can track masks and things like that, but you can't track the motion of a shot like you might want to. However, if you have a still shot, just like this one, you can do some cool stuff with these elements. And it's also useful to have them for motion graphics and things like that you build within your editor as well. So what I've done is I brought in the Mojave pack. I'm just going to look through and just kind of see what sort of stuff we have available to us. I just want kind of a dusty ambiance kind of rolling or off the ground here. And see right there, that's a good one. I just want to add something like that to this shot, just to kind of add a little bit more dust maybe to behind this horse, stuff like that. So I'm going to drop that in, and I'm going to extend it to the length of our shot. Again, so these were shot in 4K, so if you have an HD shot, you might want to right-click and select Scale to Frame Size. But you can also just kind of position this however you like. So I'm just going to scale it up to where it kind of fills the frame like that. Since there's all this black in the background, we need to get rid of that. The quickest way to do that is in the Opacity tab on your effects controls. You can click on this drop-down and go and select Screen. So now we have dust in the scene here, and it's kind of gray, kind of looks like smoke. That's not exactly what we want, but I'm just going to get it into place. So I'm just going to kind of move this down, kind of like that. So let's get another element, and this one I kind of want it to almost reveal the scene. I'm going to grab this surface number 7 here. I'm going to drag that in, and I'm going to go ahead and leave this one pretty big because I want it to be like it's almost closer to the camera. So I'm going to also try to make it fill a lot of the frame at first. And again, we're going to set it to screen mode. So now we have all this crazy dust going on, and we need to sort of make it look like it's more part of the scene. The easiest way to do that is with color correction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to our effects panel over here, and I'm going to search for Lumetri. And I'm going to drag that in and just put it on one of our dust elements here. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the other one just so we can see what we're doing. And I'm going to go to the curves drop down in the Lumetri effect. And let's just look at the scene here. It's very, very kind of salmony, peach, a lot of reds, a lot of oranges. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take our red channel. I'm going to punch that up quite considerably. See already it's kind of matching more in the scene. And we can also go to the blue channel and we'll pull that out a little bit. There we go. And then let's fine tune our green channel as well. So we can do something like that. And there we go. See, now it kind of looks like it exists in the same scene as this cowboy here. And another thing is I'm noticing, to me it just looks like there's a little bit too much dust. So I'm going to go to the RGB channel here, this white one, which is just basically the light. And we're going to bring down the darks quite a bit. And I'm even going to bring down the white. See how that's just kind of blending everything a little bit better. And then let's go ahead and turn on our other dust as well. And what we can do is we can actually just take the color correction from the other one, and we'll hit Command C to copy it. And we'll click on our new dust here and click on the Effect Controls panel and hit Command V. And that'll paste that color correction. But one thing I like to do is just kind of vary it slightly, just so there's a little bit more depth there. And so I'm going to take the green channel and just punch that up. And that's going to be very subtle, but what it does is it just kind of gives different levels to the dust. And another thing I want to do is, if you think about it, since this top dust element is meant to be bigger, therefore kind of closer to the camera, in terms of the spatial relationship, this one would move a little bit faster because it's closer to the camera. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that dust element and I'm going to right click it and I'm going to go to speed, and I'm just going to turn that up to something like 160%. And we'll just kind of extend it to make sure it fills the whole length of the shot. And what that's going to do is it's just going to make one of them kind of move a little bit more realistically, like it's closer to the camera. And that's kind of more what I was looking for, just something that looks like there's a lot of dust getting kicked up in this scene, and there's a big bunch of it right in front of the camera there. Alright, so let's give it a try in Final Cut now. So what I have here is a shot of a car, and it is going to explode, just like that. And so let's just say we wanted to make this explosion just a little bit more dramatic. So again, this is a still shot. There's not much going on. So you could use Final Cut or Premiere to do some compositing in a shot like this. But if there was any sort of movement, you'd have a much tougher time. And I would really recommend using After Effects or some other compositing software. So I want to make this explosion just a little bit more dramatic. So right here, I have this rolling fog shot. And there's some kind of, debris, little dust pieces, stuff like that. Kind of looks like the rocks that might be around the car. I'm going to try and see if I can't just add this to this shot to make it look like there's kind of a shock wave, like dust wave sort of thing coming out of the car after it explodes. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this element, I'm going to drag it down. Now, keep in mind, these elements were shot. This particular element was 60 frames per second. Some of the others are 120. So if your shot is in normal speed, you're going to need to take that into consideration. So this shot is in normal speed. The explosion happens. It looks like, it's not slow motion or anything like that. So since this is 60 frames per second, we'll need to speed it up by roughly about half. And that should look a little bit more natural. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on that element, and I'm going to go to this little stopwatch looking kind of thing here. I guess it looks like an odometer. And I'm going to drop down this little drop down, and I'm going to go to fast. And we're going to just try 2 times. So now it's a little bit faster. And I'm going to click on our element here. We're going to go to the blend mode options. And I'm going to drop that down and select screen. And let's just find the exact moment where the explosion happens, which is right about here. And the shockwave kind of moment wouldn't happen till, maybe a couple, 2 or 3 frames after the explosion kind of hits its peak. Right there looks good to me. So I'm going to take this element and I'm going to drag it and line that up. And let's just see what it looks like right now. Okay, not bad. This dirt is kind of brown looking, and the whole scene's kind of brown looking, and then this nice white, clean looking smoke kind of stuff flies out. So that's not going to work, but the timing looks all right, and we can move on from there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click on our dust element here. I'm going to go to the color correction effect in the effects panel over here. I'm going to drag it to our dust element, and now we have this color correction effect. I'm going to go first to the exposure tab because I want to make this dust a lot more subtle. I'm going to take this overall exposure, and I'm just going to drag that down, something like that. And then let's just specifically start crushing down the darks and a little bit of the mids, just play with it till you get something that looks a little bit more sensible. And then now let's go to the color tab, and we'll just kind of start playing with the color a little bit. With this little node here, we're just going to find some kind of brownish, sort of orangey colors. That looks pretty good. Kind of brown, not too red, not too saturated. And of course, there's a lot of fine tuning that you could do from there, adding more dust elements, things like that, to just kind of bring it all together. But that's a good start. All right, and now let's do some stuff with these assets in After Effects. Now, like I said before, this is the piece of software that you're gonna really want to use if you're gonna do some motion tracking, which is gonna be most compositing cases. So we have this shot, this guy, probably fires off a couple shots, and then, let's just make it look like there's some people shooting at him. So one thing that's really cool is in the detonate section, we do have some stuff that looks like bullet hits, kind of. So the first thing that we need to do is motion track this shot. And it looks like we're going to have some nice little kind of contrasty elements that we can use for our tracking. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to right click down here, go to New, Null Object, And I'm going to just select that and go over here to the tracker. If your tracker isn't open, go up to the window tab and make sure that tracker is checked. And so first we're going to go ahead and track this shot here. So I'm going to select our shot. I'm going to go to track motion, and we're going to track position, rotation, and scale. And I'm going to zoom in, and we'll just find with this point some kind of nice tracky spot, something like that. And actually, let's just look at it real quick. I think his arm kind of, yeah. So we're not going to want to track there. Let's find somewhere where the gun or his arm does not obscure the tracking point. So up here looks pretty good. I'm going to just select this spot, and let's just zoom in and kind of fine tune that. And I'll just kind of leave it right about there. And let's find another spot down here. Something like this will do. And we're going to hit the track forward button. All right, and so there we go. We've got our track, and I'm just going to go ahead and make sure that the target, if you hit edit target, make sure that that's set to our null that we created. Hit OK, and we're going to hit apply. X and Y, that's all right. And so now we have tracking data for the shot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose one and just kind of get it into place. And I'm just going to make it look like, you know, there's just maybe 4 bullets hit all in a really short period of time, which makes him kind of pull back like that. So I'm going to grab one of these bullet hit looking things, and I'm just going to drag it in. Okay, so let's just get it in position and scale it however we want. To mess with the scale, you'd hit the S key, and you can kind of move it around like that. And let's just kind of find a spot where it looks kind of an appropriate size. I think something like that probably would look all right. Now let's try screen mode on our transfer mode here. So hit this drop down and let's switch it to screen. And let's also parent it to the null object. So let's see what we've got. Let's just kind of slide this forward a bit. Let's just see what we've got right now. It looks all right, but the thing that always comes up is this shot is in normal speed and our element here was shot in 60 frames per second. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the stretch factor, and we'll just bring that down to about 50. And what that'll do is make it 2 times the speed. Now I'm going to go ahead and just do a few more. And the easiest way to do that without having to kind of redo everything every single time is just duplicate it a few times. Like let's do 4 shots, and we'll just kind of move them around this pillar here in the various spots. And then we're just going to take each of them and kind of shift them around in time. Let's just kind of make it go bam, bam, bam. So we'll just slide each one frame over. So that looks all right. The only problem is that each of these elements are the exact same element. So it's really easy to start switching them out. What we're going to do is I'm just going to click on one of our other ones, click on one in the timeline here, and I'm going to hold down the Alt key and drag it down and replace. And we'll just do that with various other elements here, and they all kind of happen in the same part of the frame, so it'll work for each one. So it's just a quick way to kind of customize and make them all look different. So now look, now we have 4 different shots popping out, and this one is kind of conflicting with this gun barrel just slightly, so I'm just going to bypass all the rotoscoping and just move it a little bit. Only thing is the dust just really doesn't look right. That's because we haven't color corrected it yet. You always have to color correct your composited elements. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on one of them. I'm going to go to Effect, Color Correction, Curves. And here we're going to fine tune the color and make it look right. So I'm just going to add some more contrast to the scene here. And the first thing is we definitely need to pull out some from the red channel and also from the green channel. And this is all just kind of what compositing is. You just kind of have to fine tune it till it looks right to your eye. Right about there works for my taste. And so then another thing that happens is that, you know, each of these bullet hits happen and there's no bullet hole. I have this, you know, image of some bullet holes. I'm just going to take that and I'm going to drag it into our scene here. And let's just select one of them here with a mask tool. And I'm going to set that to multiply. And let's just get that in position like so. And put it at the bottom below. And you want the bullet hole to appear the moment that the dust element appears as well. And you'll parent that to the null object. And again, we'll duplicate that 4 times, one for each dust element. Slide each one frame at a time. and we'll go and get them all in position. And so here we go. Pretty cool, pretty convincing effect. Now, obviously, this is just one approach. If I wanted to right now, I could just put an explosion over here and have a bunch of dust flying around and really make this scene super action heavy. But this is just a nice example of a quick way to use some of these elements in an action scene. So I hope you enjoy this pack. I think it's a really versatile pack. There's a lot of different stuff you can do with it. A lot of looks that are really popular right now for like motion graphics and things like that. You could use them for transitions. You could use them for your compositing. You can use them to beef up explosions or debris effects, things like that. And just a few things to remember. These are all shot in high frame rates. So if you have a normal speed shot, you need to speed them up, or else they won't look natural. And these elements are provided in grayscale, so if you need any sort of color to the dust, you're gonna need to add it yourself using effects. If you have any issues, feel free to contact our support staff. We're always happy to help you out. And definitely keep an eye on RocketStock.com for more packs coming out in the future. We've got a lot of really cool stuff coming out. Good luck with all of your projects, and enjoy.